Death toll hits 22. I lost 3 persons in Okija rice stampede. That's coming from a businessman. And that's in Anambra State, the one that happened in Anambra State. FG lifts ban on mining activities in Zamfara. Courting the gains of Tinubu's economic renewal. That's by Muhammad Idris, the Honorable Minister of Information. You check that story also in the Vanguard newspaper. And one man is praising another football talent. Lukman is unique. That's coming from Okocha. Lukman is unique. And 2025 budget bereft of fiscal discipline. That's coming from former Vice President Atiku Abubakar. Advertising guru Biodun Shubanjo honored in Lagos. You also find here Edo Akwa Ibom government mourn as ex-defense minister. General Abe dies at 75. You find more stories in the Vanguard newspaper for today.
Alright, from the Vanguard, let's check the leadership for this morning. On the leadership, we have this. 2024, inflation, forex volatility, marked growth across sectors. Details of that is on page 22 of the leadership newspaper. As federal government consoles families of stampede victims. Details of that is on page 22 of the leadership this morning. And that will be it from the leadership this morning.
Right, from the leadership newspaper, the Nigerian Tribune is next. And in the front page of the Nigerian Tribune this morning, you find Tinubu's reforms not responsible for stampedes. FG tackles PDP. We don't have such situation also happening here in Ondo State, because when you look around, you also find some people also planning to do some form of outreaches, interventions, just to ensure that a lot of persons also have a feel of the season. But while doing that, do ensure that you go by all of the control mechanisms and the guidelines that government have issued in that regard, because you might plan for 50 and you can find 500. So more headlines in the Vanguard newspaper. Real sector growth. FG disbursed 16.1 billion naira to 22 manufacturers. That's coming from Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Edom. NDLEA arrests businessman with 256 wraps of cocaine at Kano Airport. And police fault Amnesty International and end bad governance report. You also find here 2025 budget, that FG's 2025 budget lacks capacity to address Nigeria's challenges. That's coming from Atiku. and alleged death by torture. IGP visits family, directs FCID to take over case. Ilorin Emir demands thorough probe. You'll find that also in the Nigerian Tribune this morning. Fuel to sell at 935 naira per litre from today. That's coming from Ipman. And Forex crisis, freight charges frustrating FG's food import waiver policy. That's according to experts. You find more from the Nigerian Tribune today.
From the Nigerian Tribune, let's Daily Independent. And we have this one too. After 5 years, federal government lifts ban on mining activities in Zamfara. Find details of that on the front page of the Daily Independent. And this one as well. Stop politicizing stampedes at food distribution centers. Federal government rules. Alright, these and more you'll find on Daily Independence for this morning.
Right, so got more for you, not just in the Daily Independent, but of course other dailies are out today. From the Nigerian News Direct, you find here Christmas respite for Nigerians as fuel pump prices crash nationwide. PML sells for 990 naira. These prices will go further down. How far will they go? 200 naira per liter.
Somebody said that this morning. Amazing.
Someone also said that too this morning. That's why I brought that up. So, Nigerians, despite all of the struggles to cope with the price regime, the change in the price regime, and all of that, a lot of persons are having to park their cars. Now that they're having this sign up, the prices are coming down. I think the government is doing something.
Yeah.
The person that even mentioned it to me this was truly it appears that Port Harcourt refinery is working. So Nigerians can easily, get to work with government. Really, if government carries them along.
Walk their talk. That's
walk their talk and all of that. So now the optimism is back, even though you have few nairas of the price, but you see that as a sign of progress. You see that as a sign that things can still get better. So let's hope that things will continue to get better going forward. Let's check other headlines in Nigerian News Direct. Lagos boosts festivities with 72-hour shopping festival. You also find here Stampede, FG governors issue advisory as PDP can blame systemic policies. 2025 budget, Atiku Serap demand cuts, criticize high deficit. And in Osun State, Osun 2026, APC National Secretary, Governor Adeleke Bika overlet violence inciting statement. You find more in the Nigerian News Direct for today.
Alright, from the Nigerian News Direct, let's check the Guardian. On the Guardian this morning, distrust others slow financial inclusion amid 4.3 trillion naira outside banks. I mean, is my cost in high demand? I mean, is it according to the number of candidates seeking admission or the societal perspective of such courses? There's need for clarification anyway. Maybe take a read of page 7 of the Guardian. You get to understand what that means. Alright, and still on the Guardian, we have this on the Stampede. The Guardian says Stampede deaths trigger political blame games as FG defends Tinubu's reforms. You find details of that on page 6 of the Guardian. The faction from Labour Party won't stop Obi may dump party, says Okupe. You find details of that on page 3 of the Guardian. And not parasitic governance needs prudence, says Udume. You find details of that on page 4 of the Guardian newspaper. Atiku criticizes 2025 budget, warns of deepening economic challenges. Right, you find details of this. It's on page 2 of the Guardian for your read. Delayed salaries hamper you tied for 7,000 federal civil servants. You find details of that on page 3 of the Guardian. And this one too, Eichmann says members will sell fuel at 935 per litre from today. You find details of that on page 4. So I guess that's why from today and hoping for further reduction in the fuel price. Alright, federal government lifts ban on mineral exploration in Zamfara. Find these and more on the Guardian this morning.
Alright, from the Guardian newspaper, the Daily Trust is next. The Daily Trust newspaper you have here in the front page, bringing the situations that we've witnessed in the last few days even closer home in terms of how we've fared in terms of the stampedes that we've had in the country. In the Daily Trust newspaper, stampedes killed 113 Nigerians in 11 years. You also find the breakdown in 2024 alone. 24 stampedes in Nigeria, 7 died on February 23rd. You also find that rice sale by the Nigerian Customs Service in Yaba, Lagos. 2 died on March 22 of palliative distribution at the Nasarawa State University. And the count goes on and on until December 18, where we had 40 people. That's your state. December 21 in Anambra State. December 21 also in Abuja, the nation's capital. That's a breakdown of the situation. But really, it's something that can also be forestalled. So let's see how our response will be to this situation. 2025 budget scrapped. Niger Delta Sports Ministries get 2.3 trillion naira. It's embarrassing. That's according to CISLAC. Appropriation bill lacks fiscal discipline. That's coming from Atiku. You also find here, despite petrol price cut, NNPCL stations, others sell above 1,000 naira per litre. And Utah, airfares skyrocket amidst operators' capacity crunch. The person want to fly, so pay more at this time. FG lifts ban on mining exploration activities in Zamfara 5 years after. That's it from the Daily Trust for today.
I take the New Telegraph, then we wrap up with the Sport Extra. On the New Telegraph this morning, it's also the story of the stampede which we've taken from other newspapers. But for the New Telegraph, you find details of our story on pages 3, 4, 7, 25, and 29 of the New Telegraph. And on page 2, federal government to workers, be patient. 70,000 minimum wage will be implemented by all states. Find details of that on page 2 of the New Telegraph. Outrage over National Bureau of Statistics report on insecurity and federal government's claim of improved safety inaccurate, misleading, lawyers say. You find details of that on pages 14 and 16 of the New Telegraph. Ex-Defense Minister Godwin Abe dies at 75. It's not one, but you find details of that too on pages 3, 5, and 6 of the New Telegraph. That will be all from the New Telegraph. Okay, U-Tide. Passengers bemoan high fares. Seek return of federal government's rebate. Find details of that on page 3 of the New Telegraph this morning. And on page 4, Sarah to National Assembly cut 9.4 billion naira presidency's budget for travels, meals, and other levies. Find details of that on page 4 of the New Telegraph. Okay, let's take the sporting stories and we'll call it a wrap.
Yes, the Punch Sport Extra is here for the sporting stories. In the front page of the Punch Sport Extra, you find here a picture of Nigeria International with the club side, Adema Lukman, Victor Sime, also right there in the front page of the Punch Sport Extra. But here it is, double impact. Sime, Roko Diary on song for Galatasaray, Genk, a new African king, Lukman, scores again in Atalanta win. Form continues. You also find here Osai Samuel Sparks Palace Rumors, Eagles B, Black Galaxies share spoils in Chan qualifier. That encounter yesterday ended in a goalless draw. You also find here Cherries, Humble Devils at Old Trafford. The winning streak is still missing for Ruben Amorim. Sport Extra today in the world of table tennis of the Fatai dethrones Kuti right there in the Daniel Cup, in the Daniel 4 Table Tennis Championship. You'll find more right there in the Punch Sport Extra for today. Let's leave it at that.
Alright, with our sports stories, we'll call it a wrap on the newspaper's headlines for this morning. We take a short break now. We'll return. We'll come back with the topic of discussion for the day. And our guest, you don't want to miss.
Leadership is not a package where you take it and say, here it is, I give you the package. Leadership comes from what you do, how you do it, how you live, what have you acquired in terms of your training, your experience, your track record, and all that. And what I'm saying is that the young people must strive. They shouldn't expect it to be a parcel delivered by DHL to them. And they must know that nothing comes just for nothing. You work for it.
Yes, glad to know you're still with us on AN today this morning. And I told you just before we went on that break that when we return, we'll be talking on our topic for this morning. And what we'll be looking at this morning majorly are those things that constitute the Nigerian image. Yes, the perception of citizens and as well the international world of what Nigeria is or what it ought to be. In the course of the year 2024, we've had several comments from different people, about their experience of Nigeria or what they feel the country is at the moment. Well, today, to look at this issue with us, we've got an erudite, is also a journalist, a publisher, and a friend of the house, Mr. Daisy Aditarami. It's nice to have you join us.
I'm glad to be here this morning. Thanks for having me.
All right, the Nigerian image. Let's start with that. What constitutes the Nigerian image? Is it just saying good people, great nation? What constitutes the perception of what Nigerians feel Nigeria is, and also to the international world?
Well, thank you for that beautiful question. But before we get into that, let us have at the back of our mind that the world is no longer a global village. The world is a global city room, whereby whatever you do at the corner of any part of the world is seen everywhere with the advent of modern technology in information dissemination, which I always want to call information superhighway. You see, whatever you do, there is likelihood of it being seen globally in a matter of minutes, not even days. So if you say you have an image to protect and you are not living up to the billing of protecting that image, I mean, people will accuse you of double speak. It then means that you are just projecting double identity. Well, coming to that question proper, there's no nation on earth that will want to be seen in a bad light. Everybody wants to project his or her image at the level of individuals and at the level of nations too. Every nation wants to project their image, before the international community, for the nation to be seen as a nation that is serious, as a nation that has the welfare of the citizenry at heart, and as a nation that wants to contribute to best practices in the world and making the world a better place for people to live in. And coming to Nigeria, I would want to say, over the years now, we have been having serious experiences that may make some people to want to even ask that why were they created as Nigerians? God forbid. If you look at the situation of the country before independence, we have a revolution of rising expectation from all the citizens of this country. We are people look up to leaders that they will be able to build the nation to the level of people's aspiration. But I can boldly say that after independence, except for a few years, that we had what I can call growth, not even development in the real sense of it, growth. All along, Nigerians have been facing economic quagmire here and there, people facing economic deprivation. A lot of people are saying, why are the leaders making the country to look like this, especially for the youth? So all these things are things that do not excite Nigerians to be called Nigerian. Truth must be told. But at the same time, it is not good enough for us to be projecting ourselves in bad light before the international community. Some might want to argue that whatever we are facing in Nigeria, they are not peculiar to us alone, that after all, many other African countries are facing the same challenges. But the leadership question has always been what I want to believe, that is bedeviling this country as a major challenge.
Okay.
If the leaders can get it right, why not? Every Nigerian be so proud to be called or to be associated with being called Nigerian.
All right. You've said quite a number of things, and I'd like to start from the way the statement "fruits must be told." But there have been a number of Nigerians this year, for instance, Davido, the popular hip hop artist, when he said in an international platform in an interview that, see, I would advise Nigerians to go back home for now. The economy is in shambles. And he got bashed for that. Why should he say that? Nigerians were angry at him for saying so. They believed that the truth, which he said, should have been within the confines of the country and not to the outside world to hear. Same way, Ken Badinaj, the leader of the opposition party in the UK Parliament, got, in fact, that one, it keeps being a recurrent issue on different platforms. The spokespersons for the federal government, commented on that as she was not. She said that because she has not identified herself as being Nigerian, that's unpatriotic and all that. And I want to ask, between saying the truth and being patriotic, is there a difference?
That's a big question from you. Between saying the truth and being patriotic, is there a difference?
Yes, when there's a conflict between the truth and patriotism.
Yeah, there's a huge difference. Let me just say this, what I encountered recently. There was somebody that carried out a study in the US, went to where Japanese community are living in the US, of course they have schools for their children and all that. So he carried out an experiment by burning the Japanese flag in front of those toddlers, in front of those kids. And immediately they all started crying hysterically. Seeing the flag of their country being burnt by somebody, they started crying. That's to tell you the extent of nationalism that these children have and that have been instilled in them by their parents.
Despite being in diaspora.
Despite not being in Japan, being in the US. That's to tell you the extent of patriotism that people could have. But I want to tell you that this is not a thing that you just got from there. It's a derivative of another thing. It's the government doing things that will make people to be proud that they are citizens of a country. Let me even take you back to the second chapter of the Nigerian Constitution that has to do with fundamental objectives and directive principles of state policy. In that chapter, a lot of rights and privileges were spelled out that Nigerians will enjoy. But if you go through all these rights and privileges, you will find out that they are not even justiciable in the first instance. My right to gainful employment, for instance, maybe as a university graduate looking for a job, I cannot secure a job, and there's nobody that can be held accountable for that are not being employed. So all these things are things that you have to look and juxtapose against the truth that you are talking about and against the nationalism that is expected of you. If the country is good, if different administrations have been so good to the citizens, you will see people behaving in correct ways. Not even Davido that you said that started. If you even look at what Idris Abdul Karim did there by singing that Nigeria Jaga Jaga, you understand. And even before Idris Karim, people like Fela Anikulapo have been singing about the ills of the society. So I am not an advocate of people spilling the beans, letting people to see things that are wrong with you and you be orchestrating it at the global level. But at the same time, the truth must be told. If the truth is not being said by people, that means that government at all levels will be docile. So people have the inalienable right to voice out what they are feeling. But as we always want to say, not to the extent that even Kemi Badenoch took it to by saying that the country is a very bad place for people to live in, that the times lawlessness in the country, every night, spilling out all the ills of the society before the international community and taking into consideration the position that she holds as the leader of the Conservative Party in Britain. She's a potential Prime Minister of Britain. So by portraying or denigrating your country before the international community at that level, I don't think Shetima told her, perhaps you could drop Kemi from your name, so you'll be only Badenoch and people will know that perhaps you are not a Nigerian. But by and large, this is another opportunity to let the government know that they have the cardinal duty to make sure that every Nigerian enjoys all what God has given to this country as resources, that everybody should enjoy so that your aspirations will be met at every point in time.
Mr. Aditami, I was going to pose that question you raised in the course of your submission back to you. Is the government doing things that will make Nigerians really proud?
Yes, in totality, we cannot say government at all levels are not doing things. And you take government at the level of federal, at the level of state, at the level of local government. We have 774 local government, we have 36 states of the federation, and we have the federal government. But if you look at the deliverables of government, especially the federal government, in the last few years in this country, they have left much to be desired. Because you look at all economic indices, for instance, are they pointing forward? Despite all what they keep on telling Nigerians that they will do, look at all these indices. Look at unemployment rate. Look at the macroeconomic situations of the country. Look at high inflation. in the country. Look at how companies are shutting down because of lack of power. Look at infrastructure. Great deficits everywhere. So, to me, government has not done enough at the level of federal. People see some state government trying to manage with the little resources that they have. So this is the time for us to demonstrate nationalism even at the level of governance, so that government will know that they have a very big responsibility. For Christ's sake, this is the biggest country in terms of population in Africa, with over 220, 30 million people. And all African countries looking up to Nigeria as the big brother or as the giant of Africa. Are we living up to that nomenclature of being called a big brother?
So now let's break this conversation down further, because when you talk about image, some would say there are two things. You could think something might not be good and it's painted as the best, and something could be really good and of course ensure that you also have it projected to the people. So let's talk about that, building that consciousness now going forward for that Nigerian image, because invariably all of these things that you've mentioned, the indices, they're also an effect of what image that people have about Nigeria in terms of the investment opportunities that could drive, and of course the partnership that it could bring to Nigeria. So building that consciousness, because a follower today is a potential leader tomorrow. We have, just like you mentioned, the case of the toddlers, the children in the United States who have Japanese origin, having that consciousness at that time. So how do we now begin to build that consciousness to say, look, we have something that unites us, which is the Nigerian image, which we also all have a role to play in also driving that positivity to that image. How do we begin?
Yeah, thank you again for this infusion in this conversation that you have just infused that. It takes my mind back, despite the fact that I don't want to sound socialist, it takes my mind back to the words of Karl Marx in those days, that it is the economy of a man, the state of the economy of a man that determines his social consciousness, not the other way around. If you are denied of many things, if you are poor, you can't access basic things of life, to be calling for nationalism from you will be a very tall order. It will be very difficult. A man that has not eaten his breakfast and lunch, and you are preaching to him that he has to be patriotic, I mean, you are just telling a deaf person what to do. I believe the fundamentals, the basics of life, government has to provide them for the citizens. From there, we begin to give people orientation of how to project the image of the country. Look at the stampede that happened in Ibadan, for instance. It's not of hunger that made people to go and be scampering for food. The same thing in Okija, in Anambra State, the same thing in Abuja. So all these things tell you clearly that there's hunger amongst the people. Is that kind of a person that you will preach nationalism to or patriotism to? So that is why I say that let government be truthful to itself, that it has a duty, it has responsibility towards the citizens. And by the time government is able to meet some of these responsibilities of this, it's easy. You will see people behaving. Look at any time Nigerian Super Eagles is playing with any other country. People will forget their religion, forget about whether they have eaten or not. Every Nigerian has that nationalistic zeal in him or her. If only government can provide the basic fundamentals that will make people to be able to live meaningful life. Look at whenever Super Eagles is playing and they lose any match. For me personally, I won't be able to take my dinner. That I will not, because it will so hurt me. As my wife will be saying, "Are you the one receiving the extra?" That is the level to which people are patriotic about their country. But let government do the needful. Let government galvanize all the variables or the factors that will make people to be so wishing to project the image of their country.
Yes, and some of those things that could even help the government to, because sometimes you say the mirror does not see itself.
Yeah.
You know, it takes another object to be placed before it to reflect. And that's exactly what criticism does to an establishment, for instance, to government, for instance, criticism either from the opposition or even from citizens, constructive criticism, so to speak. And each time there is something said about the true state of situations in Nigeria, the response of the federal government to it. Let's take, for instance, this issue of food stampede now that has just happened almost about 3 or 4 states in the country, including the federal capital territory. The response of the federal government to it says it's been politicized. People shouldn't see it from that light, and also the release by the National Bureau of Statistics on the issue of insecurity in the land force, this ransom payment for the year 2024, it's run to trillions of naira. You know, the statistician general was invited to come and substantiate that release. Is this a way to respond to it? Does it show that the government is willing to even change?
Well, if you have to broaden the scope of this conversation, I think we may even be going into things more than what you are saying now about government responses from time to time to national questions or challenges or delays that happen from time to time. We have a culture as far as the Nigerian ruling class is concerned, and that culture, as far as I'm concerned, is a culture of lack of accountability. People don't believe that they have responsibility when they get to office, that it is not only the perks of office that they are coming to enjoy, but they have much more responsibility towards the people, so that the people will be happy at the end of the day that, oh, these people have represented us well. Take a look at many parts of the country today. There's no area where you do not see gargantuan challenges facing the people. As we even still speak now, in the entire Southeast, on Mondays, people don't go to work. Yeah.
Because of the sit at home?
Sit at home. And it seems as if the federal government is just being like a dicycle in the way I look at it. Because you can march to those places and put sanity into the head of those elements that are fomenting troubles in those areas. In the northeast part of the country, Boko Haram, they are still doing their worst. Ransom still being paid, for kidnapped victims and all manner of things like that. But again, let us even come to basic things that we need to exist as citizens. Are they there? They are not. You look at many roads, trunk A roads for that matter, that link different regions, which is the major responsibility of federal government. They are not attending to all this. And people plying those roads, your vehicles will get stuck on the road at times. At times, people will be waylaid by armed robbers on the road because of that. Lack of electricity, a lot of things. Graduates that are being churned out on yearly basis. NYC has about 3 streams now.
So, and it goes on and on.
It goes on and on. People are unemployed, jackpot syndrome here and there. A lot of things happening.
But it appears that the federal government is concerned also about the image of the country, and that's why sometime in October, the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, came out to say, look, we're going to be taking certain steps to improve the Nigerian image.
Let me cut you off.
I want to get your thoughts on that. Let me read out.
You wanting to project your
image. Let me read this out. So you will get your reaction.
I know where you are going.
The federal government launched the Nigeria Reputational Management Group.
Yeah.
That's the NRMG.
Yeah.
And it says that reshaping how the world perceives the country. And that group will have spearheading it as the National Institute of Public Relations, backing of the Ministry of Information, the National Orientation. Recently, we also got information that information centers that will be opened in some countries, just in a way to also boost the image of Nigeria. What's your thought on this thing? Now you can let it out.
The same ones and before the governments are not They are. But what are the deliverables that we are getting from these things? We only get it tokenism. What are the results of these things? They are inconsequential. So they must be truthful to themselves that they have cardinal responsibility. It's not about wishful thinking. It's not about wishing that the country should look good. A lot of
step with this group.
a lot of Nigerians outside this initiative, they are doing stuff that are making the image of the country to go up. Look at Ademola Lookman that has just been crowned as the African king in football. Yeoman's job on his part, he was conscious that I could be, and he went for it, and he got it. You know, that will boost the image of Nigeria even at the level of sport. But we should go beyond all this and begin to address issues that will fundamentally affect the lives of Nigerians. If you take your mind back to 1929 during the Great Depression in the United States, a lot of families could not feed, a lot of young men could not find a job. Then, the president then, I think Roosevelt, he called on one of the greatest economists, you know, John Maynard Keynes, that what should we do? John Maynard Keynes said, well, there'll be no job for people now, there's nothing we can create now, but let them feel that they are doing something and they are being rewarded for it. It is funny, they asked people to be digging trenches. As they were digging, they asked other people to be filling these trenches up, and they get paid just to create dignity for labor, and people got money. So you will see government at that level that this is a responsibility for us to take people out of this. So when I read out, I may not have the statistics now, the unemployment rate that we have in Nigeria across the board, not only in one state, in all the 36 states of the Federation. How many people is the federal government taking out of unemployment? You will see China, you will see India, they will say this financial year we are taking out 100,000 people out of poverty. And it will be seen that these people have actually been taken out of poverty.
What had that move to take 100 billion?
We only hear about moves in Nigeria. Since you were born, you will be hearing about moves. Since I was very young, we'll be hearing about moves in the pipeline. You go and look at the pipe, there's nothing inside the pipeline. So these are the things that government must saddle itself with to make sure that the citizens get the best from the available resources that we have. God has been so gracious. Nigeria, among all the countries in Africa, is the most endowed country in terms of natural resources. So, what is government doing with all the resources that we have to make sure that we deploy these resources, people can get employed, economies of people can go up? For your information, my brother, 80% of Nigerians, as we speak now, they are only existing, they are not living. Because there is difference between you living and existing. How many civil servants now on grade level 15, for instance, in any state of the Federation, we now say, from my salary, from my resources, I'm going for summer. Myself, my wife, my 3 or 4 children, and they go. Next year, they want to repeat it. It's not possible as we are in the country today, except the person is stealing. So, and it is not everybody that has access to the phone. It's not everybody that even has the mind to steal. So, except those few ones, majority of Nigerians are only existing. People go to office to go and work. After 30 days, they get paid. The money paid is not even up to 1 week for you to live on. And you say the person is living. It's not living.
But generally, even economists will tell you that you cannot you can live comfortably on salaries. You need to be an entrepreneur.
No. Chade, I won't take that from you. I will not. There are a lot of countries in the world where minimum wage is enough for you to live well. Not even the advanced countries. In Africa, I can still mention 10 countries here whereby you receive your monthly pay and you are okay. If you don't have too much. So, government knows what they can do. It's only that in Nigeria, the ruling class has not been responsible enough. The ruling class has not been responsive enough. And the ruling class has not demonstrated capacity to be able to know that we have responsibility towards the people. Pattern of governance in Nigeria, to me, is different from many countries, even many developing countries in post-colonial Africa. Nigeria ruling class. Mind you, I'm a political scientist.
Of course.
Yes, Nigerian ruling class is such a ruling class that is over pampered, that see themselves as the godfather, so to say, to the remaining people. They would rather see you that you come and beg. They'll be so happy, and they give you crumbs, rather than to go and plan.
So
Okay.
it is obvious that the government has a lot to do.
Government has a lot to
from
do.
your submission.
Government has a lot to
And
do.
of course, it also begets that when government, does some of these things, they also be able to, elicit a certain kind of response from the people that they govern. So, as much as the conversations around what government will also be doing, the people will also have a lot to do, because by virtue of the submissions that Mr. Adetayam has given this morning, it appears that the citizens are the greatest asset of that country. They are the greatest assets that can really boost the image of the country to ensure that, yes, it has that positive image going forward. But before we wrap up this conversation, taking cognizance of the history that this nation has, right from where it all began, the colonial rule, the military era, fast forward to all of the cultural values that we have, how do we merge these together to say, look, what government is doing something, taking the right step going forward, we can also galvanize our history, our cultural values to ensure that we have all of this being well for us.
Thank you very much for bringing this up now. A lot that we can do in that regard. For instance, our orientation, first of all, must be changed. There are a lot of things that the citizens ought to be doing now and to be going through that we will no longer find. For instance, now history has been abolished in our school curriculum. In our days, we did what we call civics.
They're civic now.
Yes, so people knew what to do then, but there's no history now. A lot of things have to be done to make sure that the citizens are captured into the how will I put it now, the national embrace of moving forward. So, but at the level of individuals, for instance, family, you have responsibility. You need to train your child well or your children well. Even you as a young man, you need to aspire that despite the challenges, I want to move forward. If everybody is doing that simultaneously, you will see the aggregate of everything combined together, we make the nation to move forward. If I see any young man now, I will ask, how many books have you read in the last 1 or 2 months? You won't see people that have read books. You will not. People don't read. So this is a challenge. Even despite the fact that we have social media all around the world now, and everybody is taught to his or her phone. If you still get to advanced world, get to schools, you see at the level of undergraduate, you see people reading voraciously, even outside their core courses. But here in Nigeria now, you hardly see people reading. If you go to a newspaper stand, you hardly see anybody buying newspaper. They don't buy. You understand? So all these things are the things that we need to be doing together. So all social agents, the churches, the mosque, the family, they have a lot of roles to play. Even the media as well. And this is part of what we are doing here right now. So if you can step up the game, step up the advocacy, and begin to do stuff, before you know it, there will be this risorgimento that we want people to begin to think positively about how to move their individual lives forward, and in aggregate, how to move the country forward. And from the support from government, correct policy initiatives, correct blueprint, you will see a lot of things coming together, and they will just be gelling. People will be happy to be called Nigerians. People will be happy to want to identify with the name of the country. But a situation where you see arrogance in governance, you see people not doing stuff as far as their responsibility is concerned, not even at the level of government, at every other level.
Civil service and what have you.
Yes, civil service and what have you. Thank you. If you see people doing all these things that are expected of them, you will see system being in sync. SINC. So, but if you see all these things not coming together, and you begin to see what I will call centrifugal forces as against centripetal forces taking place, the reverse will always be the case. So I believe in Nigeria, I believe in young people, I believe in Shadi, I believe in you, that we will be able to move this country forward if we can preach to our family members, to our cousins, to our nephews, to our nieces, that we all need to move, and we jumpstart the movement together.
All right, yes, jumpstarting the movement together. You know, some time ago we had the state's director of National Rotation Agency in the studio, who told us about the 7 for 7 that they're trying to push. Is a policy, 7 things citizens are supposed to do, 7 things the government is going to be doing for citizens. Maybe a kind of summary to what you have said. About time the citizens are doing their part and the government too is doing its part, then we'll probably have a better Nigeria. But then back to my first question. If you have, you said you believe in the young people. If you have a young person in your presence now and says, sir, how do I answer this question? You know, if to say the truth about Nigeria and to be patriotic, is it what do I say? Should I just say it the way it is, or should I just be diplomatic about it?
You don't need to be diplomatic about it.
To be politically correct.
Yeah, you have to be politically correct. But back to what we have said earlier, let us begin to build this consciousness in every Nigerian that we do not have any other nation that we can call ours except this nation. If you jack back today, perhaps you are a top professional in your field and you get to US, Canada, UK, France. By the time you get there, you will see that you are a second-class citizen in quotes. They cannot give you all the privileges of those countries. And you begin to think that, oh, I'm coming from somewhere. And you are even a figure in those societies. Nobody reckons with you. But here, if through dint of hard work, you are able to make it, society will celebrate you. Your family will know that they have a son, they have a daughter somewhere that they all look up to. And people will see you as a role model. So these are the things that we're supposed to be having at the back of our mind that we should be so conscious about from time to time at individual levels. But then I keep on going back to government. Government is the numero uno as far as societal growth is concerned.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, our social analyst for this morning, Mr. Daisy Aditarami. It's been nice having you on the show, and thanks for giving us your insight into the topic of the day.
My pleasure to have been here this morning, and I wish every viewer Merry Christmas in advance.
All right, Zaid, your party, sure?
Tapping from Mr. Adetami. The spirit of the season. Be careful, love, share. Of course, do it the right way. I'm sorry, Salah.
Yes, doing it the right way is the way to go. I know that my dear viewer will be like, oh, let me check the screen again. Is his name Obayama? Come on, it's Mr. Aditarami, because those words were just coming, high sounding vocabularies. But then I believe you got the message, and it was nice hanging out with you this morning on the show. My name is Fola Shade Ogidom. Wednesday is going to be another date with us. Bye.